he's going to come up and talk about how computer vision and user-generated content is reshaping marketing for Fortune 1000 companies. Pau, we're excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Evan, for putting together this amazing summit. I'm Pau Sabria. I'm one of the founders of Olapic, a New York-based startup that helps brands solve this problem, the content crunch. Most brands, show of hands, who of you have been retargeted with the same photo over and over and over and over again ad infinity? How many decided to install an ad block because of that? Good. That's because brands don't have enough content to build good marketing experiences. The main reason for that is, or what we believe is that essentially there's been an overflow of technology into distribution channels compared to how much technology has gone into content creation. As a result of that, there's an imbalance between what a marketer can do and what the content they have to feed those channels. And that is creating that disconnect that essentially generates that you have to reuse the same content over and over and over again, and that is bad. What we decided, or how we decided to tackle this problem, is by tapping on what we call earned content. Essentially, content that audiences generate on their own, the content that users generate on behalf of the brands, and put that at the disposal of the companies. What is really interesting is that this obviously opened up a new era of authenticity, a new era of having a lot of abundance in content. With 2.5 billion pictures shared every day, that's the equivalent of about 50 Shutterstock catalogs. So there's obviously a lot of content to sift through and that brands can harness. The main value of that is that once you have great content and you have it at scale, what you can do essentially is build consumer experiences that are really engaging and that really are personalized to the level where actually they are both visual but personalized. Oftentimes brands have to pick between one or the other. You can create the ad by PNG that is going to make you cry, et cetera, but it's a mass market, everyone sees the same movie and everyone shares it. Or you create a really ugly email that essentially is hyper-targeted to you, but you just see text. We believe that user-generated content creates that symbiotic relationship between brands, and content creators can really enable brands to generate a lot of content, and as a result, not necessarily chase users with the same pictures over and over and over again. The challenge, though, is that one of the things that we've learned over the last few years is that human beings are really, really bad at predicting which content is going to perform the best. So given two pictures, and I asked the executive team at L'Oreal, pick the one that is going to outperform the other in an e-commerce environment. Half of them picked the one on the right, the other half picked the one on the left, meaning that half of them were wrong, the other half was lucky. Given that with an explosion of content, the problem doesn't become, oh, this is all the pictures that we have to use. What can we use? How can we use technology to identify which photos can or will perform and predict which ones are going to outperform others? Simply because humans are not great at it. So what we do is that we use machine learning in different capacities. One is obviously correlating how different attributes of a picture correlate with performance. And we use that by measuring and integrating into e-commerce experience and tracking how users interact with those pictures ahead of a purchase. What do we measure in terms of what is in a picture? Things like dominant color, EXIF data, things about the author. We analyze the caption, the sentiment, how frequently you post, how many followers you have. And just a hint, how many followers is really, really a bad predictor of how good the picture can perform. So all that influencer marketing thing is certainly not because of the value of the picture itself. There you go. Nope. So one of the key aspects is once you have, and you're collecting thousands and thousands of pictures every day, obviously, how do you use technology to understand what's in a photo? As an electrical engineer, this is probably one of the most frustrating things that you see when facing customers, is that this is one of the things that is probably one of the hardest problems that computer scientists and mathematicians have to solve. And yet, it's one of the things that probably marketers think that is the easiest thing to do. It's obviously a bracelet, right? And when you make a mistake and the algorithm say it's a plate, they feel that you're stupid. So what we're doing essentially is using as many data sources, as many technology. We are partnering with several image recognition computer vision companies to kind of try to instill and use our big data set of wild images to understand what's in them so that we can then correlate it into performance data so that then we can learn actually what works and what doesn't. And hopefully together, by sharing that type of data with everyone in the community, we'll be able to really train algorithms into classifying correctly wild images. Thank you.